Oi, eu sou o Juliano Gentili.
Oi, eu sou a Ângela e esse é o segundo episódio da segunda temporada do podcast Chiado. Nessa temporada, as parcerias são entre brasileiros e alemães. E neste episódio, os convidados são Gunda Gottschalk, falando de Wuppertal, na Alemanha, e Rodrigo Montoya, falando de Santiago, no Chile.
Seguindo a proposta do Chiado, eles criaram uma música em conjunto, o Rodrigo sendo responsável pela primeira parte e a Gunda pela finalização. A gente fez uma entrevista com eles e vai trazer aqui alguns trechos dessa conversa, começando com uma apresentação de cada um e, na sequência, a gente ouve a faixa criada colaborativamente.
My work. Maybe my roots are into the classical music. I'm classically trained. But during studying, I already discovered a lot of new music. And while performing new music, where you maybe only have graphical scores or a description what to play, you more and more, I more and more came into the responsibility about sounds and developing sounds and checking what's the right sound, what's the right development into the music. And step by step, I came to the point that I don't need the score anymore because I'm so responsible for the music that I can do my own score or even work without scores. So that leaded me into improvisation. And the second very important thing, in this first context, I met colleagues and we started playing improvised music coming from the composed music already while studying, and that's Partita Radicale. My ensemble, we work since 30 years together, and that's a very important route in my vita, in my musical life. And another very important thing is that I met Peter Kowald in the year 94, 95. He's from Wuppertal too, and he was living next door. So I met him nearby my home, and I was in the year of my classical exam and was there every Saturday because he decided to stay at home for 1 year and not to play abroad and not to play somewhere where he has to travel. And the whole world came to him, and I met everybody. Everybody I play with now, besides Partita Radicale, almost, we can say, my important partners like Peter Jacquemin or Xu Fengxia, the Chinese woman, I met through Peter Kowald. And so I'm very grateful for this experience. And if there's any time, I tell you the last important experience I had. That was participating in Roaring Hoofs Festival. I did it 2 times because it was so important for me. It's a festival outside in the land from Mongolia. So we travel like the nomads through the land, and we play outside all the time in the desert or in the mountains or in front of the lake. There I learned something which now is also very important for me, because the nomads, they were listening to our concerts. They are used to, when they make music, they just give the music into the space. And they don't wait for a stage light and a special audience row and to be important. They don't wait to be focused. So for them, music is just to add something to the things which are already there. And I think our music comes quite close to this approach, because we involve things which happening around in our music. It can be also the nature, it can be some noises from the audience or a police car. And so I felt very inspired by playing outside and just adding something to the things which were happening, like horse races or shaman rituals or just the nature.
Well, I'm Rodrigo. I'm from Brazil. My parents from Chile. Now I'm based on Chile. And well, I'm involved with improvised music since 2003 because I had some friends. For example, I had some friends, Diego Gibson, Renato Ferreira. They introduced me to a fantastic drummer. His name is Antonio Panda Gianfrati. And then they introduced me to this world of improvised music. Before that, I just studied kind of classical music on acoustic guitar, and then also other things like rock and Brazilian folkloric music. And this time I was playing guitar and soprano saxophone. And after some years, I just got some health problems. So I got, hernia. And then I had to abandon my saxophone. And as a surprise, I just discovered this Japanese instrument that I play now. So in 2006, in a Japanese community in Sao Paulo. And then I started having lessons of folkloric Japanese music. That is my main instrument during this more than 10 years. And this shamisen that I play is called Tsugaro shamisen. That's from the northern part of Japan. And there are other kinds of shamisens with other repertoires. And then I just took this instrument to this group we have of improvised music. And during that time, it was very few people that play this kind of music in Sao Paulo, for example, or in Brazil. And after some years in 2008, I decided to move to London. So I stayed there for 3 years and a half. And then I had the opportunity to meet lots of people. That was incredible comparing to the situation in that time in Brazil. And then I could have many partnerships. I could exchange many kinds of combinations, orchestras. So it was a really great time. Yes. In 2011, I returned to Brazil. I continue doing my work with my Brazilian group, Abaetetuba. That's an indigenous name that means a gathering of good people. And then some scene has started in Brazil. So when I returned, I found many other musicians playing this kind of music. And that was really exciting to see other people very interested in playing. So from very different backgrounds. And that was really, really good, really good. And then I just had the opportunity to play with other musicians finally in Brazil. Yes, in 2018, I moved to Chile. And in Chile also, they have a very interesting scenery of improvised music, especially on the coast of Chile in Valparaíso. So there are many musicians that are doing this kind of music as well. And yes, in a nutshell, would be this my approach of my background in improvised music.
Essa foi a faixa Distant Talks, criada colaborativamente entre o Rodrigo Montoya e a Gunda Gottschalk.
Tem uns pontos interessantes que a gente acabou tendo que deixar fora do episódio, por questão de tempo, um deles sendo sobre o acesso que os artistas têm a equipamento, a estúdio de gravação, estando a gente ainda nesse período de isolamento social, né? O Rodrigo mesmo conta que ele acabou tendo que gravar a parte dele de dentro do banheiro, porque ele fez alguns testes pelo apartamento, mas o único lugar silencioso o suficiente para ele gravar a parte dele da faixa foi no banheiro.
Inclusive, ele conta que gravou na banheira, né? Agora, a Gunda também trouxe uma informação interessante, né? Sobre criar sem estar com o parceiro ou parceira. Ela fala que fez uma trilha para um filme junto com mais 3 outros músicos. Então, assim, cada um dos 4 fez uma parte e essas partes só foram reunidas na edição. Só que, no caso, eles sabiam quem eram uns aos outros e tinham um filme como o fio condutor para esse trabalho, né?
Pois é, a gente faz esse convite para os artistas e não tem ideia sobre o processo criativo de cada um.
I was amused. Now I like the idea that we first started just with like naked. I got some music and I could do what I want. I really had to ask again if it's really like this, that I am allowed to cut and to do the montage, because the material was, which I got, was inviting me to do something like this. I had much fun doing it, and I was just wondering whether it's really okay to do so much editing on it and not to do it like I do a little and you proceed, Rodrigo. So that was the point where I just thought, oh, maybe now my work is too dominant in it. But I really had fun and I enjoyed it. And now it's very nice that we meet here on Zoom and can talk a little. It's a nice process. Just first start with a file and then going on. I like it.
Yes, totally. I enjoyed a lot the process. When Juliano just invited me, I was like surprised about the structure of the project. To be honest, I haven't done this kind of improvisation. I've just recorded solo, but not to be as raw material for another musician. So, and then it just came to my mind some thoughts. I just felt like there were 3 composers, because the impression was the first composer was you guys, Juliano, Angela, that you chose we two to play. So maybe you have a reason into your mind. What about if these 2 guys play together? And then I just thought there is a sequence. The second composer was myself. And my goal was playing, thinking about an unknown person, unknown musician, and was kind of challenging, but interesting. That was the first time I was in this taste of experience. And then I enjoy a lot this, wow, who should be? And it's from Germany. So I have no idea totally. And then in one day, I recorded some tracks and was thinking perhaps my partner could buy my idea or could reject my idea. And then I just played at once. I didn't have pieces. Then the third composer, Gunda. So then I said, okay, that's the raw material. I hope my partner can enjoy, can do whatever he or she wants. And that was this feeling of, wow, what's gonna happen with this? So that was it. And then when I received your material, I really enjoyed that. Yes, I really liked that. And I could felt a taste of improvising, because I don't know, if it was myself in your place, I could think, well, this is a composition, this is an improvisation, but I think there are too many food for thought to discuss what is composition, what is improvisation. But I felt the taste of improvisation, so I really enjoyed that, and also compositions. And yeah, it was really exciting. So really good, nice experience. I really enjoyed that.
O Rodrigo traz uma questão que a gente conversa muito, né, sobre composição e improvisação.
Sim, é uma relação que a Gunda já tinha levantado no início da entrevista. Ela que também tem experiência com música escrita, por exemplo, com o grupo Partita Radicale, dizendo que por meio da prática da composição ela chegou na improvisação.
Daí a gente perguntou para eles justamente como percebem essa relação, já que ambos atuam muito como improvisadores. E também, considerando que a improvisação é uma prática em que a reação do parceiro influencia muito, como a ausência do parceiro interfere nesse processo criativo para o chiado.
It's a difficult question. It's related to composition, because there's always this responsibility how to lead a piece from one material to another. That's composing work. But I always, in these discussions, I prepare to stress and to emphasize the difference between improvised and composed music. And for me, it's very important that improvised music is for the moment, and composed music is for the reception. You can listen to it several times, and my music is more or less meant to be listened in the moment. When I now construct a piece with computer, with your material, Rodrigo, and with my own material, I try to leave it as improvised as possible, just to let through spontaneous decisions and not to be too much head addicted to form a structure. But I sit there with my program and it's total chaos. Maybe I can share my screen with you and you see how this piece is constructed. This is really chaos. And then I listen and then I change a little and then I leave it like it is. So I don't try to improve the result. And I was inspired by your material, which is the case in every improvisation. So that was maybe the first important step, that we influence each other, or I'm influenced by you and the material you gave. As
Gunda says about composition, you can listen to it many times. You can compose, you can fix, you can add. But when you are improvising, is everything at the moment. And also it requires the musician a lot of training as well, a lot of studies, to be able to express at the moment what your feelings are requiring you. If you don't practice as well, perhaps I don't know, maybe myself, I can feel like, oh, I couldn't express. Maybe I needed some more training, or maybe I'm just talking about to play with another musician, but we also can improvise other contexts. For example, in London, I busked a lot on the streets, and people just approach the people that are connected to your frequencies. And then we have a conversation. And also it's really interesting. It's really good, this kind of interactions we can have throughout improvisation. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
E outro assunto que a gente não podia ter deixado de abordar, até porque faz parte um pouco da concepção mesmo do Chiado, é a questão da pandemia, né? A gente procurou saber deles um pouco do que eles experimentaram nesse período e o que
Como
isso...
é que eles não só lidaram com isso durante a pandemia, que tipo de mudanças eles tiveram que fazer, tiveram que se adaptar, mas também se eles enxergam mudanças no trabalho deles depois da pandemia, né?
E o que eles vão levar mesmo disso daqui para frente, né?
Exato.
Yeah, maybe we are more open for possibilities like those and discover that it's not always a need to travel to meet people, which is a very important thing, to be creative and keep the distance, but be close with the music and our techniques, which we have. That's very useful. So it could help also after the pandemic situation to be in touch with people who live far away and getting used to it, not to travel too much and not to use airplanes all the time. And in musical sense, of course, it makes another output. And it leads you to a different manner to make music. So it's just a creative process, and you cannot say that the live experience is better or worse, but it's all there, and it's all enriches you to have more input, to have new challenges. So it's quite interesting to be part of a project like yours.
Yes. For example, during this situation, the pandemic, I got in touch with some musician friends that I haven't played for many years, and then we just could play online. So it was great. Yeah, it was great. Another way, maybe to listen, or maybe looking at the screen on the screen, and listening to throughout the headphones. We also, or maybe in my case, I just feel like we cannot meet other people outside your place because of this situation, the quarantines. The studies continue, the training, but that was the way available and how to get advantage of it. Yes. So it was interesting, the project, talking about the pandemic. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Com isso, a gente encerra esse episódio, agradecendo a Gunda Gottschalk e ao Rodrigo Montoya.
A big thank you for this surprising invitation. And in these days, everything which brings you to work again, in also new formations, new cases, makes me very happy.
Yes, many thanks for you guys for this project. Also crossing overseas, so it's not just in Brazil, for example. And many thanks as well, Gunda, for the big job you had to do as well. And it was a great pleasure to meet you.
Na sequência, a gente ouve uma faixa de cada um. Da Gunda Gottschalk com Waking Conrad, a gente ouve Die Überschwingen, que me perdoe a pronúncia dos alemães. E do Rodrigo Montoya, a gente ouve uma gravação em Londres, em 2009, com o Thomas Horer, Márcio Matos e o John Edwards. Valeu a todo mundo que ouviu até aqui. Valeu, Juliano.
Valeu, pessoal. Valeu, Ângela. Até a próxima.
Até!
Sehr lustig. Chiado. Chiado.
Chiado é o podcast do Chi, Festival de Música Criativa. Essa segunda temporada conta com o apoio do Goethe Institute São Paulo. Produção, o Irapuru. Mixagem e masterização, César Martini. Tradução, Bruno Lima. Identidade visual, Maria Cal Levi. Vinheta, Bugil, Juliano Gentili e Daniela dos Santos. Concepção, curadoria, entrevistas, edição dos episódios e da vinheta, Ângela Brava e Juliano Gentili. Gravado em novembro de 2021. Assim como na primeira temporada, as faixas colaborativas criadas para esses episódios compõem um álbum e vão estar disponíveis em chiado.bandcamp.com.